2023, a year filled with ups and downs, a year filled with good games and not so good ones. Seriously, this game needs to be burned at the stake. To celebrate the end of this year, along with my sanity, I thought, why not start a new tradition on my channel? This is my top 10 games I played in 2023. So, quick disclaimer before the video starts. This is a list of games that I played in 2023. This is not a list full of games that came out in 2023. I want to do this top 10 in this way to make my list a little more interesting. Also, this list is my opinion. If you have your own feelings, feel free to write out your top 10 games you played this year. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10, Dragon Quest VI Realms of Revelations. Okay, so I already feel the hatred of some Dragon Quest fans out there after they saw DQ6 on a top 10. God forbid I have an opinion. This was actually the only Dragon Quest game I played this year. Anyways, Dragon Quest VI is your typical bread and butter JRPG. You have your level ups, party members, stats, all the usual stuff. I actually had a good time with this one. One negative thing I will say is that the story wasn't the strongest compared to other Dragon Quest games, but it was interesting enough to keep me engaged throughout my entire playthrough. I loved getting to know each character's backstories and how they play. I enjoyed the gameplay along with the soundtrack. The main shtick of this game is the job system, making a comeback all the way from Dragon Quest III, which in this game is known as the vocation system. Basically, this allows you to tweak your party's stat growths in order to make various character builds. I'm a huge advocate for customization and personalization in my RPGs, so this is what really made this game shine for me, and for that reason, it gets my number 10 spot. Number 9, Street Fighter VI. I've always had an awkward relationship with fighting games. I've played Smash, Dissidia Final Fantasy, and various Dragon Ball Fighter games. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is the best. Fight me. I probably missed a few, but those are the ones that come to mind. For some reason, the fighting games where you have to move your left stick to do an input just kills me. If you play like this, I salute you. This is where Street Fighter VI comes in. I watched the trailers and was super hyped, and I decided that I would give the game a shot, knowing that this would probably be in this game. I was not disappointed. The game felt fantastic to play as they have casual controls, which allows you to press your typical buttons to do moves and combos instead of moving your left stick like your dog took your controller and won't let go. As for my mains, I knew instantly I wanted to play Manon and Cammy for various reasons. Since I've had some experience with fighting games, I know the only way to get better is to get your shit wrecked online over and over again, along with practicing your character's moveset and combos in the training room. Something about improving your natural skills instead of boosting up your numbers in a game like an RPG was just so addicting, and Street Fighter VI scratched that itch hard. There's also World Tour Mode, where you can create your own custom character and learn from the cast of characters to create your own ultimate fighter. So World Tour Mode was a great addition in my opinion, and for that reason, Street Fighter VI is number 9. Man, SMT4 was one of the most interesting experiences I have ever had in an RPG story. So many questions were in my head as I played. Who are you as a person? What are your beliefs? What is right and wrong? What makes these things right or wrong? Never has a piece of media challenged the way I think like SMT4 did. I'm gonna be honest, SMT4 is one of those games that you really just need to play to understand what I'm talking about. Yes, it's a turn-based JRPG, but it's so much more. The narrative, I believe, is the best in the entire Megaton franchise, which elevated this game for me. The tone of the game switches the further you go in, and the soundtrack really just adds more and more layers to the complexity that is Shin Megami Tensei 4. The cast of characters represents various ideals, and siding with any one of these characters puts your journey in many different paths and endings. As for the gameplay, it's your typical press-turn SMT game, which is what separates SMT from other turn-based RPGs. The press turn system is so rewarding, yet so very, very punishing. Basically, if you hit an enemy's weakness, you get an extra turn, but if the enemy you target blocks or dodges an attack, you lose a turn, and the same applies to your enemies. So not only do your decisions matter in the story, but also in combat. Did I mention the difficulty? Well, like most SMT games, this game is pretty hard. I'm talking Man of Steel ballsack card. I had so many game overs when I first started, all in the tutorial section of all places. But for those of you who are having a hard time with the game, you can always set the game to easy if you just want to experience the story. Nothing wrong with that. As for the soundtrack, it's literally one of, if not the best RPG soundtracks in history. Like, they got some straight bops in there. Like, listen to some of these. Also, can we talk about how hard this album cover goes? Part of me really wanted to play through SMT4 instead of 5 for the channel, but the main thing holding this game back for me at the time, and kind of now, was the fact that it was on the 3DS. But there's ways to get a hold of the game and play it now. Guys, I have a confession to make. I love gacha games. Are they bad for some people? Absolutely. These soulless companies could drain your bank account in the blink of an eye if you aren't careful. What's that? The new mommy milker waifu or husbando dropped. Boy, oh boy, let me grab mommy and daddy's or my credit card. And I lost the 50-50, along with my paycheck and my wife and kids. I now have to pay child support, and my house has just gone into foreclosure. Okay, jokes aside, I really have enjoyed my time with Star Rail. I played Genshin Impact, and it really didn't scratch that itch I wanted in a gacha game. I personally love in-game content for live service games. Nothing too repetitive, something that just has enough pull to keep me interested. Genshin lacked this for me. Spiral Abyss was doable, but there was nothing else. Honkai Star Rail gave me options. Not only that, the game is turn-based, and it has an auto-battle function for farming characters and materials and other important gear. There's also a roguelike game mode, which I really like doing every week. Events are also common, and most of the time they have a lot of content to play through along with great rewards. Even if you're a free-to-play player, I think you'll have a great time. Also, if you start playing before the next update, I believe you'll get a free 5-star character, also known as Dr. Ratio. That's right, L plus Ratio. You get that for free. I'm not sponsored. I wish I was. Mihoyo, or Hoyoverse, whatever you're called. Sponsor me. As for the story, it's either hit or miss at various points. But I believe that the story will only get better as time goes on. The only negative I kind of have is that the game has a lot of power creep. But the advice I've taken to get over this is to play the characters I like, don't chase the meta, or else they will chase your bank account. There was another certain gacha game I played this year that I'd argue was better than this one, but I'm not trying to get demonetized, so Honkai Star Rail gets the number 7 spot on my list. Yes, I know it's number 6. Yes, I know some people will say it was robbed of Game of the Year, but do I think it should have won at least one award? Absolutely. Spider-Man 2 was a fantastic game to play through, and the gameplay and combat is the main reason it's even on the list. The most fun part of a Spider-Man game is the swinging, which Insomniac has perfected to a T. I really didn't think it could have gotten better, but man, it sure did. The addition of web wings is awesome. It didn't take too much away from the swinging like I feared it would, but rather enhance the traversal experience in general. I also know that Insomniac added a fast travel mechanic, but I rarely used it. Its combat is a continuation from the previous game with a whole lot more introduced, such as the parry/counter mechanic, whichever one you want to call it, which I love trying to master on the hardest difficulty, because man oh man, I sure like my difficulty. The boss battles were awesome and provided many spectacles that kept me on the edge of my seat as I played. As for the story, I was not the biggest fan. It had a lot of good, but a lot of bad. Peter in this game felt weak, as I felt like he was way too apologetic to everyone for every small thing, and was constantly getting saved by everyone. Miles honestly stole the show for me, except can we talk about that last suit? What was that? It really felt like his game instead of Peter's, which I would expect in Miles Morales 2, but not in this game. I feel like it'd be more of a 50-50 split. My favorite character in this game, however, was surprisingly Kraven. He, in my opinion, carried the first act of the game, besides killing off certain characters, not gonna spoil, and the game deciding never to show it happen, which is weird. The second and third act of the game is where the pacing really fell out of control, especially in that third act, my god. Basically, the game was amazing when you played as both Spider-Man and not so amazing when you weren't. Speaking of amazing, can we talk about the most OP character in the game? The character that specializes in hand-to-hand combat, the fluent bilingual language speaker, bike-riding redhead herself. That's right, you guessed it, Mary Jane Watson. Like Insomniac, I get you're trying to make her a likable character, but when you try too hard, it's pretty freaking obvious, man. Just like in the first game, I did not like the Mary Jane sections. Cancel me, burn me at the stake, I don't care. It's a Spider-Man game. If I wanted to play as Mary Jane, I would have bought Mary Jane Wick. All things considered, the voice acting and music were great across the board, and I honestly think Yuri Lowenthal deserved an award for his performance at least. I don't know how he still has his vocal cords, but that was one heck of a performance, and for that reason, Spider-Man 2 gets my number 6 spot. Would you guys believe me if I told you I dropped this game back in 2018 after completing only one chapter? Well, it happened. I decided 5 years later, back in March of this year, to come back, and man, I am so glad I did. What drew me to the game in the first place was the unique HD 2D art style trademarked by Square Enix themselves. It felt nostalgic, but at the same time, brand new. You can choose to start as any character you would like, but the catch is that you'll always have that character in your party until you've beaten all 4 of their own chapters, aka beating the main game. There isn't really one single character that stands out, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Some of the character stories are kind of generic, if I'm being honest, and kind of bland at times, but towards the end of the game, each character's story connects in a very surprising and smooth way. Like, great job, Square. Another thing I wish the game did was have more banter between characters during the story, which they kind of did, but you can only do this at pubs where you changed out your party. Combat in this game is turn-based, of course, but with a few extra surprises thrown in to keep things interesting. The primary focus of combat is the break system. Every enemy has a shield marker with a number next to it, along with 1 to 5 square boxes. The shield represents the amount of times you'll need to hit it with a weakness to break the enemy, therefore doing increased damage. The catch is, you won't know a new enemy's weakness at the start of a battle, so a lot of guesswork, or using a guide, is needed. Another thing that kept me playing was the job system. Yes, I know, another job system. Great. Hoorah. Every character has a job or role that they play. In total, there's 12 jobs. 8 are the starting jobs that the 8 characters start out with, along with 4 secret jobs that are insanely broken. Along with each character's main job, if the player discovers the various shrines scattered across the maps, they can have access to secondary jobs, which change the way you play the game. Despite the game's name, you can only play as 4 characters at a time, and the job system fixes this issue somewhat. But you know, I'm really glad I made the decision to come back to Octopath, and I hope other people give the game a chance as well. Did I mention that there's a sequel that came out this year? I bought it, and I'm so excited to play it in 2028. I know some of you are wondering, where's your full review of Tears of the Kingdom? Well, this is gonna be it, kind of. A lot of what I said in my first impression video remains true, so if you want to watch that, I'll go ahead and link that in the description down below, or you can just click here. I still haven't fully completed the game yet. It's a very big game, as you all know. I need to wrap up all the shrines and finish up the underground and sky areas, but I'll get to that another day. I believe Tears of the Kingdom shook things up enough to warrant a second game, rather than a glorified DLC, as a lot of people are saying, which I can understand both sides of the argument. I was super happy to see actual dungeons make a comeback, as I feel that this is where the franchise is at its greatest. Exploring the open world was just as good, if not better than the first game, but it's still virtually the same with exploring Hyrule. Building vehicles, however, was a blast, and seeing what the internet came up with was one of the best experiences I've had in a while. If you're a Switch owner, you should definitely give this game a shot if you still haven't played it yet. Never in my life have I thought, man, I just want to turn off my brain and watch stuff explode all over my screen. That changed when I came across Vampire Survivors. What is Vampire Survivors, you may ask? Well, my friends, it's a bullet hell roguelike. You have a choice of a few characters to start, but once you start getting unlocks and upgrades, the game gets dialed up to 10. I initially played this almost exactly 1 year ago, and once again, this was another game added to my ever-growing backlog. Flash forward to August of this year, I was still in university at the time, and it was my last semester. I took this one class where the professor was so boring to listen to, the dude literally read off his slideshows word for word. Did I pay attention? No. I didn't learn anything, but man, I sure did grind out Vampire Survivors in that class. That's right, I played a video game in class and still passed with the B. Man, I hope he is not watching this. Anyways, Vampire Survivors really gave me that dopamine shot in class I needed to stay awake and alive. The price of the game is amazing since you're getting so much for one game. You get so much based on what you put into the game. Also, they recently released an Among Us collaboration DLC, but I haven't had a chance to touch that quite yet. If you're looking for a game to play and not think too much, this is the game for you. For my second pick, I decided to go with the official Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3. Never in my life have I played D&D, also known as Dungeons & Dragons, if you didn't know that. I've always wanted to have a session with some buddies and have a blast to come up with the craziest scenarios. I do have a few friends that are currently writing stories as we speak, so we can have a session soon, and I am super excited. The only issue I can see with D&D is scheduling. Life has its moments where nothing ever goes as planned, but this is where Baldur's Gate 3 comes in. It's a video game, so that means you can pick it up whenever you want to, and drop it whenever you want to. You can save your progress and everything. No scheduling or having to meet up at some weird sketchy place at one of your friends' houses with their families who have no idea why you guys are grown adults role-playing. Baldur's Gate is the quintessential role-playing game. You can create your own character, as usual, in your typical RPG's fashion style, or pick a preset of characters that are already in the game, along with choosing your class in your typical MMORPG style of setting. Every action in the game is determined by a D20, also known as a 20-sided die. This is what makes the game so interesting, as the game relies solely on chance. Or you can be that guy and save scum every time you're about to make an important decision or choose a fight. But, you don't want to be that guy, right? The bottom line is that you play the way you want to. Another reason this game is so great is that it made so many of these AAA game studios mad. I am personally sick and tired of these big-name studios releasing an unfinished product for $60 or $70 and charging for DLC and microtransactions for that same unfinished product. So it was nice to see them get all up in arms and realize what they've been doing is wrong and lazy. Larian Studios gave all those guys a big middle finger and said, we're releasing our game finished with no DLC and no microtransactions. What you buy is what you get. And in my opinion, Baldur's Gate 3 is worth every penny and deserves Game of the Year. But there's one game I missed out on before that gets my top spot. Before we get to my number one pick, I wanted to give out an honorable mention to Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Since I play this game a lot, I wanted to include it in my list. Another honorable mention that isn't a game, but rather a console. I am talking about the Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED. I won't go into detail yet, as I have a special surprise in 2024 for all you guys, so I hope you're excited and ready to go, because I am. And the moment you've all been waiting for. My 2023 Game of the Year is Elden Ring. I initially missed out on Elden Ring in 2022. I played it for a while, and I got stuck. I was pretty stupid at the time. I didn't want to use a guide, and eventually I decided to give up. Then, back in May, I decided to go back in and give the game the second chance it deserved. It's been a long time since I played another Souls game, so getting back into the swing of things with Elden Ring was a bit of a challenge at first. But once I was comfortable, I was so mad at myself for robbing myself of the experience, since I spoiled nearly all of the important boss fights in the game. But I realized that watching and playing are two totally different things, and Elden Ring plays so great. The customization and build crafting is at its highest, and having the ability to respec your stats for that perfect min-max build was awesome. Every boss fight had its own gimmick, and even some of the basic enemies gave me a run for my money. Some fights were easy, stupid, or putting me on suicide watch. Kinda like this guy.
It's supposed to be a fucking RPG. What role am I playing? The fucking victim? Jesus fucking Christ!
Once again, the most satisfying thing to me in a video game is improving and learning bosses in any FromSoft game. Minus a couple of bosses. But Elden Ring really shined in this regard and really made me want to do another replay. And New Game Plus is worth it every single time. You can create many different builds and combinations to change your playthroughs. No playthrough is the exact same, unless you do just a straight up strength build the entire time, but you do you, buddy, you do you. And for that reason, Elden Ring gets my number one spot. Hey, it's me, JFiggy here. Hopefully you guys missed seeing my face. Probably not, but that's okay. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. This is my last video of 2023. thank you all once again for sticking around and staying with the channel, liking my videos, commenting, sharing. If you've done that, it's okay. If you haven't, I understand. Just a YouTube thing. You know, I hope I'm that guy that you pick up your phone and you watch me while you eat, because that's what I do. I gotta have my YouTube entertainment. I'm that iPad kid. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you do. Some of you might look at me right now like I'm an idiot, but that's okay too. Opinions are opinions, man. You know, you might just have the wrong one. But anyways, I just want to say thank you, like, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. And if you're new here, like the video, subscribe, comment, or dislike the video if you didn't agree with me. You just hate my guts, hate everything that just came out of my mouth in this 10-ish, probably 15-minute-ish video. That's okay too. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much for sticking with me through this year, each and every one of you. And I know some of you are probably going to watch this in 2024, and that's also okay. You guys get to see what it was like in the past. So yes, this is past Figgy talking to future you guys. So yeah, that's going to do it for me for 2023. Catch you guys next year. I think the next video that's going to come out is probably just another continuation of the current playthrough that we're on now. Have a great day. Have a happy new year. And happy New Year's Eve if you're doing fireworks and all that other stuff. That's gonna do it for me, so peace.